Well, hello, Greenland Hills. It's good to see you again. We had a very busy week this last week on the heels of Global Village Market. On Saturday, we had our annual charge conference with the district superintendent. The district superintendent, as an extension of the office of the bishop, came to meet with our highest governing body, the charge conference, to deal with the annual business of the church. We had a very good meeting with her. She was very pleased to be here and very pleased with what she saw and heard. One of the major portions of the charge conference is what's called the pastor's report. It used to be called the state of the church. So I wanted to share that report with you today for those of you who weren't able to join us, and then update you on some things that have happened since then. So, anniversaries are joyful, wondrous things that offer a chance to look back on the past and take stock of all that has been. And as such, they're deeply liturgical events, for even when they seem to happen far from any form of worship. For just as any liturgical event that looks to the past, from the annual pilgrimage to the manger on Christmas Eve, which we'll experience in a few weeks, to the weekly procession to the table for the Eucharist, anniversaries don't look to the past by turning their back on the future. That's nostalgia. Rather, they pull the past into the present while firmly facing the future. Because just as Christmas Eve and the Eucharist, anniversaries only look to the past in order to celebrate the present and prepare for the future. That, in liturgical jargon, is what we call anamnesis, or what we mean when we speak of remembrance. Do this in remembrance of me. It's rather auspicious, I think, then, that we gather on this day or that day for charge conference. First, because charge conferences, like anniversaries and Christmas and Eucharist, both look backward and forward, not in a nostalgic way, but rather in an anamnestic one. More importantly, however, we gathered on that day on the eve of the very day of our 84th anniversary as a community. On November 9th, 1941, Reverend Jack Elsey met with 87 charter members at Stonewall Jackson School for their very first worship service. I can imagine that they probably celebrated the Eucharist. And I can imagine as well that they also met 84 years ago on November 8th. On the eve of that beginning, with great anticipation, to plan and prepare for what lie ahead. I wonder what they thought, looking back at all they had already done to lay the groundwork for a wondrous, exciting, Spirit-led future. And here we stand today, or did, on the eve of a new year and the life and ministry of this community, and look back at the past year to take stock of what has brought us to today. There is much to be celebrated. Last year, I challenged the congregation to champion children and youth by participating in the Dollars for Scholars program offered through the United Methodist Church Higher Education Foundation, by committing $5,000 to support 5 of our college-age members who would be attending United Methodist affiliated schools. Not only did you rise to that challenge, you surpassed it, supporting 7 students with $7,000, which ultimately leveraged more than $15,000 of support for these students. We successfully celebrated the first anniversary of full inclusion in the UMC and the founding of the Center for United Methodist LGBTQ+ Heritage with an event hosted right here in this very room at Greenland Hills. Not only did that event maximize care and healing by honoring 3 LGBTQ+ clergy who had had their credentials restored, It also provided support to pursue and embrace diversity by presenting a $20,000 gift to the center to help launch its important work. Part of which is to tell the stories of LGBTQ+ United Methodists, work which started that day with professionally recorded video interviews of those 3 clergy. We also champion children and youth by welcoming Merit Children's Academy onto our campus. Not only does Merit afford us opportunities to connect with the broader community in new and exciting ways, with 60 new families coming through our doors every day. Connections which have borne fruit in Kids Against Hunger, End of Summer Bash, Trunk or Treat, Global Village Market, and many other chance encounters. Merit has also created a reliable income stream for us that supported a portion of our operating expenses, helped us repay our cash reserves, and allowed us to begin to build a capital maintenance fund. And these are just the high points in between all our other regular daily, weekly, and annual activities. From Compassion Knitters and NA to sending a mission team to help with recovery efforts from Hurricane Helene in North Carolina, and sending funds to pay for a new house for a family in Juarez when our own team could not go. In all, your generous efforts to champion children and youth, maximize care and healing, pursue and embrace diversity, and tell our story and the stories of others resulted in sending more than $37,000 above and beyond the budget to support causes locally, regionally, nationally, and globally. So, as we stand on this threshold, feet firmly planted in the present, recalling the journey we've traveled in an effort to shape the future, I'd like to highlight some of the priorities on which we will focus in 2026 that will address the 5 priorities the Bishop has set for the Horizon Texas Conference. We've already begun to maximize care and healing with our newly reconstituted and energized congregational care team. Under the leadership of Robin Kirk, and with the support of our newest appointed associate pastor, Reverend Brooke Clark Gibson, this group will continue to expand and regularize its work. We have recently renegotiated our relationship with Merit, both allowing them to expand their footprint on our campus and providing us with even greater financial security and flexibility. This new arrangement will enable them to serve over 100 children at this facility. And our already strong partnership with them promises to offer even more opportunities to collaborate with them to champion children. One of the ways we will explore doing this is by leveraging mental health professionals within our own community to maximize care and healing while championing children by offering mental health and parent education resources. Our efforts to maximize care and healing and champion children will also be expanded next summer under the talented leadership of Reverend Brooke Clark Gibson in the form of a fine arts camp, Growing Faith Through the Arts, for children entering grades 3 through 6. Open to members of the community, this experience is designed to celebrate creativity and let every child know that they are loved by God exactly as they are in a welcoming and encouraging environment. Additionally, this fine arts camp will also serve as the foundation for a new, flexibly scheduled children's worship arts ministry. Last year, I drew attention to Greenland Hills' history of experimentation with the usage of language in liturgy, and pointed out that these changes have largely been efforts shaped by staff without significant discussion, consensus, education, and investment from the larger community. After reorganizing some staff responsibilities in 2025, we are now ready to launch a working group drawn from the broader community that will come together to discern and craft guidelines for how we use language in our common liturgy, allowing us to worship in a way that pursues and embraces diversity and maximizes care and healing. It is also our hope that the process we develop can serve the larger church by creating a model for other communities to use. Last summer, we became acutely aware of the stress that the dismantling of USAID has placed on communities around the globe, including those served by Congo Restoration. In response, I challenge you to maximize care and healing, champion children and youth, and pursue and embrace diversity by raising $4,500, matched by $1,500 from the pastor's discretionary fund, to provide $6,000 to Congo Restoration to feed their elementary school students for the last 4 months of the year. Not only did you meet that challenge, once again you surpassed it. So since you respond to challenges so well, I would like to challenge us to make providing sewing machines for the graduating class of the Congo Restoration Sewing School, which has been reopened and refurbished, a regular part of our budget. Finally, next year will be our 85th anniversary. And yet, as I mentioned last year, Greenland Hills has no gathered history, no place where it has recorded its history. And so we have no place to tell our story. And we do have a story to tell. So I'd like to challenge us to begin to gather our story, written, oral, artifactual, anecdotal, so that we can tell our story of how we are rooted in God's unconditional love, growing in love of God and neighbor, and reaching neighbor and sojourner alike, so that those to whom love is a stranger may find in us a generous and loving friend. Again, these are just a few of the high points in addition to all our established ongoing work such as Quilting Guild, book clubs, art classes, and much, much more. And all of these things, from partnering with Merit and offering a fine arts camp, to providing mental health and parent education resources and Global Village Market, help us become more porous to the surrounding community, inviting them to come into our space and allowing them to see Greenland Hills as a place where the community convenes for a variety of activities, and serving our community as a safe, welcoming place where all persons feel affirmed, celebrated, and loved is fundamental to multiplying followers of the one who was and is and always will be love. That was the report that I delivered to the Charge Conference last week. Since then, 2 exciting developments have happened that I want to bring you up to date on. First, after finishing our audit of Global Village Market sales, I'm pleased to announce that once again, we provided more than $34,000 in support to nonprofits all across the community. You can read more about that in the report below in the newsletter. Secondly, with the suspension of SNAP benefits, we became acutely aware that there would be food needs intensified in our communities. And so I asked Kristen to talk to Michelle about how we could support Emmanuel Community Center's efforts to meet the food needs of our community. Michelle's request started very modestly, $500 to provide turkeys for families. But as the week went on, the need grew very quickly as emergency and homeless individuals requesting food support began to increase. Those requests began to increase. So much so that by the end of the week, the need really was closer to $3,000. So I challenged you on Sunday morning. I said, I don't have $3,000. We don't have $3,000 in the budget. Could we find $3,000? $10 here, $100 there, to provide support for Emmanuel Community Center. I'm pleased to report we are well on our way. You have been extremely generous. There's still time to participate in our effort. You can go online and select the missions fund and put ECC in the note, and that will go directly to us. Or you can bring a check on Sunday. We want to provide the support that ECC needs so that the first question out of their mouth isn't, how are we going to pay for that? But what can we do to meet your need? I hope you'll join us on Sunday as we bring our stewardship campaign to a close. You should have received your stewardship letter in the mail this week with an estimate of giving card. I hope you'll prayerfully consider how you can participate in our 2026 stewardship by estimating what you think you can faithfully give, so that together we can engage in the kind of life-changing, community-transforming ministry we've already talked about. Like the quilted stole that I had on Sunday. Every piece of fabric, no matter what color, no matter what shape, no matter how big, no matter how large, every piece of fabric contributes to the beauty of the quilt. You've already shown what a beautiful quilt this community is. I hope that you will participate in our stewardship campaign this year, so that together, when we move into 2026, the first question we ask ourselves won't be, how will we pay for that? But what can we do? I look forward to seeing you on Sunday. In the meantime, as always, my prayer for you is grace and peace.